Joe Biden ends his re-election campaign, endorses Kamala Harris as presidential nominee. And we start off with our top international story that we are tracking, this one from the US. President Joe Biden has announced his withdrawal from the 2024 presidential race. He cited the best interest of the country and his party amid the pressure from the Democratic allies. He's also endorsed Kamala Harris as the Democratic Party's nominee, praising her and emphasizing his commitment to his presidential duties. In fact, an official White House statement has also confirmed Biden's ongoing engagements with key stakeholders. First up, listen in to the statements that are coming in from the US Congressmen on Biden's announcement.
Well, President Biden has done a great job. He's been a wonderful president. It's been a pleasure to work with him. I've had a chance to work with him. I respect his decision, even though I wanted him to run. And I felt that we could win with President Biden in November. But he has decided to step down, and I respect his decision.
All right. What do you have to say about the timing of this? I mean, considering it's so close to the convention.
Well, we still have about 4 months left to election, and Kamala Harris, who would be the nominee, I anticipate Kamala Harris will be the next presidential nominee, and people already know Kamala Harris. She has seen her work. People have seen she has been a great partner to President Biden, and I think people would support her wholeheartedly.
I think that Joe Biden today showed what a true America First policy looks like in putting the country above himself, stepping aside as Democratic nominee for the presidency. Joe Biden has had one of the most distinguished careers of public service of anybody in this country. And as president, he accomplished more in 4 years than what a lot of presidents have accomplished in 8. We can talk about his work with regard to the bipartisan infrastructure deal, his work in improving our healthcare system and access to life-saving drugs, or his work with regard to climate change, or reviving our semiconductor industry. Those will go down as tremendous accomplishments. He's passing the torch to a new generation of leaders. He endorsed Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris will be a formidable contender for the nomination, the Democratic nomination for the presidency. And the most interesting thing is that everything will be decided by the convention, which is going to happen here in Chicago. One of the most, perhaps one of the most interesting and most widely watched conventions, perhaps in modern history.
And let's go across to Rubinder Sachdeva, a foreign affairs expert joining us. Mr. Sachdeva, thank you for speaking to Republic. Your first statement to Biden's announcement that he will no longer be running for the presidential post, do you think this was very much on the expected lines, or do you see this as something which is not very much expected, given that there hasn't been much of mounting pressure from the Democrats until very recently?
Thank you. I think more or less it was expected. It was really, it was teeing up for that. There was no way out for Biden on this issue. The issue with which he has been labeled, right, that mental health as well as physical health, there's no way he could have turned around that, right? He could beat politics, but he cannot beat father time. So this was absolutely inevitable. And, yes, as you're saying, there was pressure from the Democratic leaders, donors also for him to step back so that the Democratic Party has a chance. The party was completely getting demoralized. They have no, motivation, no zest as compared to the Republicans who seem to be marching away. And then lastly, like you were playing the clips of Shri, Thanedar and Raja Krishnamoorthy, the entire U.S. Congress, the House of Representatives, are also up for election, right? Every 2 years they have those elections. So the biggest worry for people like Thanedar and Raja Krishnamoorthy also is that, Biden's low ratings and Biden's low image and performance will impact their elections. If not Thanedar, Raja Krishnamoorthy, but there are a bunch of other Democrats, who are in seats where there's a tight contest between them and the Republicans. So if the Democratic Party is being seen as, lackadaisical, not charming enough, not dynamic enough, led by a person like Biden, that will have effect on election chances of these members of Congress also. So that was a huge factor for many of the congressmen. If not publicly, but definitely the sentiment was there, and it was reaching Biden that if he did not step down, not only will the Democrats lose the White House, the Republicans already are in majority in the House, lower house, but Republicans will increase their control in the lower house, as well as Republicans will control the Senate, will win more seats in the Senate. So that way, all three wings, the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate would have gone to the Republicans, and then they will march ahead with their whatever extreme policies, if there are. So that was also another factor that, okay, we could lose the White House, but we need to win at least the lower house or the Senate.
Right. Stay with us, Mr. Sachdeva. In fact, we have a statement also that's coming in from the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, who says that if Biden is not fit to run for president, he's not even fit to serve as president. He says, and I'll just quote here, he says, at this unprecedented juncture in American history, we must be clear about what just happened. The Democrat Party forced the Democrat nominee off the ballot just over 100 days before the election. How do you view this statement, given that the Speaker is now trying to mount pressure that for the remaining term, Biden must quit? Do you also see that Kamala Harris could be giving a tough competition to Trump in the coming days?
Firstly, the pressure on Biden now by Republicans to step down as president itself, this is politics, this is rhetoric. The Republicans have an advantage. They're driving their point home. Right. So they see an opening to, pin down the Democrats. So that's what they're doing. The Speaker of the House, who is a Republican, right? That's where they have a majority also. As well as J.D. Vance, the running mate of Trump. Last night only, I think he has called that Biden should step down or resign as president, because if he's not fit to lead election campaign, how can he lead the country? So Republicans have got an opening. They will drive it home. Secondly, regarding Kamala Harris, I think now the fight has become intense. She has a decent chance. Democrats will be full of energy now, at least the base. You see, you need to energize the base. And then there are the swing voters or the independent voters.
Yes.
Kamala Harris being young and a change from the situation of Biden, I think will bring a lot of energy and hope to the Democratic campaign. And it will be a tough fight, no doubt. Kamala Harris also brings, the support, supposedly and definitely, of African American or Black Americans, and especially Black American women. Okay, and also, of course, Indian American women, and because she is half Indian American and half Jamaican. So she brings some solid, voter categories, and then she has been a prosecutor, a very successful prosecutor in California. Though initially for 2 years in the Biden presidency, she was kind of not seen as very effective, but she will bring a lot of energy and enthusiasm and hope to the Democratic campaign.
Well, absolutely. Let's see how this pans out. For the lack of time, we'll have to leave the conversation here, but appreciate you speaking to us. That was Robinder Sachdeva speaking to Republic, giving his insights on Biden's announcement that he is opting out of the presidential race. In fact, let's also listen in to the reactions coming in of people in the US on Biden's announcement that he will no longer be running for the presidential post.
Feeling like it was long overdue. I think kind of was hoping that he would have made that announcement either before or right after the first debate. So it was more of a feeling of like, okay, this was overdue, but not surprising.
Got all notifications. Instant kind of panic a little bit because we're getting closer to the election. So, it's kind of, back to the drawing board, trying to figure out what to do. I know that he threw his support behind Kamala Harris, of course, as Vice President. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out, moving forward. We've been trying to get used to her. A lot of people are not really, going along with her at the moment. So it's kind of, the PR step of her trying to figure out the next steps.
I think they're going to be dissatisfied with her as far as a candidate unless she partners up with a strong vice president. And hopefully they'll find someone that'll do the country good. And people will vote accordingly.
I actually did expect that, sure. And we'll see what happens now at the convention. So.
I'm excited that he dropped out. I don't think she's the best pick either, though. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting.
I think it's an unfortunate time for our country that the president was forced to step back. I think he had no choice but to endorse Kamala during this period, though.
My reaction is I think we needed new candidates anyway. I think a change and a woman running is probably what we need right now.
I'm not surprised. Just watching interviews with him, it just seemed like he was, deteriorating. Not to say that he isn't a good president. It just didn't seem like he should run again.
I'm surprised because he was steadfast against dropping out for so long. So I'm a little surprised because of how hard he was saying that he was not going to drop out.